Today we have a very special episode. It is the altcoin special episode. Welcome to Around the Blockchain. Thank you for joining. Please hit that like button. We got a great lineup today. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and say it is the greatest lineup we've ever had. On the top left, we have Joe Parys, and keep an eye out for all the wind you're seeing in his background. Maybe you'll get lucky and see a branch go through the window. Wouldn't be lucky for Joe. Joe, we don't want that to happen, but you got Matic at 1 penny. You can afford it. All right. Also on today's episode, we have Crypto Lifer, been making some juicy trades. You're definitely going to want to check out his most recent live stream. I think he went over all 22,000 altcoins, so definitely check that one out. If not, it was pretty close. All right, also on today's episode, he was just saying the L2 he just got a bag of. It is Firoz, and maybe if we get enough likes, he'll share it with you as well. And also rounding it out, we have Randi on the bottom right, and Randi also is going to have some pretty good choices for us, I'm imagining. So let's get right into it. First, we're going to talk about the tokenization of assets. And this is coming from Citibank's. This is their latest global perspectives and solution report. It's a very, very big. There's a lot of these, a lot of data going into this, a lot of hours into this report. And they're saying trillions of dollars of assets could be tokenized by the end of the decade. We're looking at 6 years and some change. Citi is forecasting $4 trillion just in digital securities and up to $5 trillion in CBDCs that could be circulating in the major global currency markets, half of which should be linked to distributed ledger. Here we have bonds, 300 trillion, just for reference here, real estate, 330 trillion, money, 120 trillion. Look at that equities market. And then we have art and gold coming in at 12 trillion there. So 5 trillion, all the gold in the world's only worth 12, so 5 trillion, a significant amount. And this is the managing editor of Citi's GPS report, is Kathleen Boyle. Successful adoption will be when blockchain has 1 billion plus users who do not even realize they're using that technology. Randi, I feel like we're not super far away from getting 1 billion users. Definitely the users using crypto today, they know they're using crypto. So I don't want to ask about any kind of big number or prediction here. But one question to you here. When will most users not realize they're using blockchain? How far away are we from that? Or will CBDCs maybe make that a never?
I think people are going to know they're not using crypto in only a few years or less. I do think already when you deal with a certain game, for example, in crypto, sometimes you just get to play the game, you create an account, and then they give you a digital asset. And then you fall into the rabbit hole of, oh, that digital asset is something I could buy, something I could sell, it's something I could rent, trade with a friend. So I think already we're coming up with ways to kind of get around that scary barrier to entry by just like allowing people to test out the technology. So this is just the beginning. I think even CBDCs, if they do come out with a digital dollar, which we know that's been in the works for gosh knows how long, they're going to make it come out into something simple like, hey, download this app like your bank, or it might be within your bank app. And this is just the new currency that you're going to be using, except you can't go to the bank and get a physical form of it. So I think they're just going to integrate it into something easy, something into your daily life. You already know that the big corporations like Apple and the Samsungs of the world, they're going to come up with their own digital wallet. They're already kind of doing that at Apple because they have the buy now, pay later system. They have their own Apple Card. So they're already integrating their own digital wallet in some type of way. Of course, they're going to probably sweep in with CBDCs because, again, the Apple is from China and they're really into CBDCs over there. And well, their operations are in China, not that Apple's from China, but also they are also close with our government as well. So I wouldn't be surprised. Big tech, all these platforms have been having meetings with the government as well. So they're going to come up with digital wallets that are easy. It's going to be in a few years though.
Yeah, Apple does have significant Chinese exposure there for sure. Firoz, now BJ, could we show that chart real quick? Or I'm sorry, that graphic with all the numbers there. I wanted to look now, Firoz. Let's assume in a magic world here, we are going to start tokenizing some of these assets within, say, the next 10, 20 years, real estate, bonds, and the like. When real estate, I'm saying when, not if, when real estate is tokenized in a serious way, we see the same things with bonds. Do you see an outsized impact on Bitcoin and other currencies? Are people going to maybe try to buy $1 million home? Are they going to onboard just $1 million into crypto? Or is it possible they maybe add in an extra 10%, extra even 100%, just to have extra exposure in this emerging market?
I've got a bit of a different view when it comes to tokenization, because the whole point of tokenization is that you're taking a real world asset, whether it's a bond, whether it's security, whether it's real estate, and you're representing it in a digital form. Why would you do that? One of the reasons could be, and I'll give you a very prime example. Many years ago, when I had a lot more hair, actually, one of the things that I used to do was I used to import old bikes into the UK. And whether people know or don't know, the actual issue is that when you actually freight something over into the UK, actually in most countries, you get a bill of lading. It's a piece of paper, it's a physical copy. Without that physical copy, you can't get your cargo off the ship. So tokenization of a bill of lading will be something that we would certainly need in order to make that process really straightforward, because then you actually have a digital copy. Because without the physical copy, you can't do that. And so from my perspective, I don't necessarily see it as that we're onboarding more dollars into crypto. I think what tokenization to me represents is the idea of being able to digitize real world assets in order to make it easier to transact with those assets. Now, I think there's a much wider question here, which obviously falls under how do you actually take these securities, these bonds, these fractions of real estate that you could end up owning and actually make it legally viable to actually own a piece, because that is even bigger. How do you tokenize cross world as well, right? Like you could easily tokenize something within a given country because you could work within that framework. But what happens if I want to buy a portion of your house, DZ, tokenized, but I'm based in the UK? How does that work? How does the regulation, how does the cross border payments, all of these things work? So that would be my answer to that.
No, I think you're bringing up a good point. We're far away from random NFT tech bro sells his timeshare as a Ethereum NFT to actually what the real logistics. Now I want to go back to you were importing. Was this just regular bicycles, or are you talking mopeds? You're importing bikes into the UK.
Lambretta GPs.
Okay, I don't know if that's the smartest idea I've ever heard, or is that a harebrained scheme from Kramer from Seinfeld? Maybe it's somewhere in the middle there. But yeah, pretty fascinating insight there. Hit that like button if you still remember how to ride a bike here. All right, well, Joe, I want to ask you about tokenizing some of these other major assets. I kind of agree with Firoz when it comes to real estate, but the derivatives markets, and I'll just speak generally here, suspiciously hidden financial markets that we don't know much about. But the CEO of Citadel or the CEO of BlackRock, Larry Fink, they might know much more than us. There's whether it's the derivatives exchanges, whether it's what you see behind the scenes with clearing houses, what you're seeing with foreign exchange, what you're seeing with Chicago Mercantile Exchange. I think they exchange more than just threads and pork bellies there. But as we move into this, is it going to hide more data? Because I keep hearing blockchain is transparent. This ledger, I can look back at every trade that's happened since the dawn of mankind, I guess. Is this going to be hiding more of these trades or exposing some of these trades? What can we expect?
Well, thanks, DZ, for having me back on the show. Smash up the like button. Really appreciate being here. But I will say that, in theory, you would imagine it would be more transparent, but it really could go either way. I think tokenization is really, really going to be in the forefront a lot more, though, and here's why. I've had a couple experiences with this personally, and one was really, really cool. So I went to a restaurant, they had a special dessert, and the only way that you could get this off-menu dessert is if you held an NFT that you had in your phone, your wallet. You showed them like when you were at the restaurant, and then they would come out and do this like special celebration and dessert thing, and like everyone looked at you like, how did you do this? And I think that was really cool. And it was one of those things, DZ, where it was like kind of hidden, right? Like no one would know that there was this special dessert on the menu unless like you kind of did more research and you kind of went by scenes and figured out that gamification tokenification thing. Sorry, I can't speak. But yeah, that was like something that was really, really cool, but also you kind of had to dig a little bit. So it was transparent because it was like, if you knew where to look and to get the, tokenization thing, then the NFT, you could do it. But it also was kind of like a little bit untransparent as well. So, that's one thing that I saw. Another thing too, is with like sports tickets, as well as I would say like going to like different theme parks. My mom pulled up a Disney World ticket from like the 1980s or something like that for $36. and it was this old relic, and she had it like in like a scrapbook for the people who were a little bit younger here on the channel. A scrapbook is a thing that you kind of like flip through and you look through old relics. And what was cool is like she had that physical thing, but if she didn't have that, I mean, it's gone forever, and who knows where it could be. Well, now if you have like a digitalized token of a lot of these things, I think are like a theme park, movie. I mean, that's something that you could really have forever without losing that physical kind of thing to it. So to me, I think that there is more transparency, but also a little bit less transparency in some things. You're going to have to just, dig around a little bit. But I'm excited for the future of it. And yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens next.
Yeah, you brought up a good idea with the whole, you go to this concert, you go to this restaurant, go on this Disney cruise. Oh, you did 10 Disney cruises in a row, you get the gold Mickey. I think we're going to see a lot of that. I know the younger me, I had a tokenization of every single one of my assets. So I would have been loving it, collecting it back in the day. Now, crypto lifer, I know you're a TA guy, so I want to get a little TA when we're talking about the tokenization of these assets. Citibank, they threw out some moon math, I want to say, 5 trillion in CBDCs, 4 trillion in tokenized digital securities. The entire crypto market cap, I think there's even, a lot of charts for that on TradingView. The entire crypto market cap was 3 trillion, roughly at November of 21. Adding in 5, adding in 4, plus the 3 there, you're looking at 12 trillion. I mean, can the market support a 12 trillion market cap? And do you have any prediction for the next bull top total crypto market cap? What are you seeing, Ira? I'm going to go ahead and say 6.9.
What a great question. Thank you so much for having me on. God bless this channel. I would not want to be anywhere else on a weekday at 5 p.m., man. Thank you, DC. This is a great question. I got into crypto when it was under $100 million market cap. I remember looking at it, and I was trading 2016, like tiny little coins on Bittrex, right? Then I saw it grow and grow, and I remember when we hit $1 trillion, and I was so excited. To see it go back below $1 trillion was depressing, but to battle through and get all the way to that 3 trillion, I go over total market cap basically every day on my channel, 7 days a week. Today, we're in a beautiful inverted head and shoulder. We're showing signs of life. That there's a push up 1.1. We stay above that $1 trillion region. So I used to go and do these awesome, I'd go into coin market cap, and you can go into historic data, and I'd play around with like, well, if we get this and we get that, last market, we did a third up, right? Bitcoin's going to be more attractive. I think we're definitely going to bring in more money. I also think there's another couple banks that are going to be shaky. Something's going to happen in the next 2 to 3 months. I think that's also going to propel Bitcoin even further. That being said, we have institutions, I think even pensions. And as more and more people get in, it's going to be more common for someone like a pension, someone with bigger money, to realize that they have to be getting into Bitcoin. Some people realize it now barely, but they're going to realize it's commonplace at that point. I think that, definitely puts Bitcoin back to its own $1 trillion market cap, right? And then, yeah, I do believe in the next bull run, if things go well, somewhat extended, we could easily surpass 5.5 to 6 8 trillion. I don't know. But if we just get to 6 trillion, we'll all be happy. We'll have so many bags, and yeah, it would be super exciting. So I think we could I definitely believe we could get to 6 trillion. We'll take it one day at a time. But more and more people are going to know about asset that is scarce. Like Bitcoin itself, it's going to get more scarce. The halving's going to cut it in half, and then more people are going to know about it. I mean, I think it's one of the greatest assets in the world.
Crypto, or I was going not to cut you off, crypto lifer, yes or no? Do we need to remove stable coins from the total crypto market cap?
Yes, because when I first started trading, there was only BTC pairs. I didn't have Tether. I actually thought Tether and XRP were like the banker's coin. I wouldn't touch them. We could separate them at least. Like they can be added in. No, they have to be added in as the overall because they're real cryptos. But let's just say, we just have to divide it. Like, okay, we have 3 trillion in stable, and and the whole world will become stable coin eventually. So like eventually everything will be a crypto, won't it? That's what people don't realize. The stock market in 5 years is going to be 24/7.
Well, I was going to say you separated into fiat crypto and non-fiat crypto, but I just realized El Salvador, Bitcoin technically is fiat. All right, well, we said we're going to talk about some altcoins today. Let's get into it. We're going to start with Tezos. I want to share the chart. I know some people have a fat bag of XTZ. I know my guy did 10, 20 years ago. This is the 1 month chart. You can see it's coming in at $1.11. It's down 2.5% on the day. If we go to the 7 day, we're seeing, pretty clear pattern forming here. But if we go to all-time high, looks like that all-time high came in above $8, maybe $8.30 or so, maybe even pushing $8.50, depending on what chart. Now all the way down 1.1. Looks like potentially 80% up drawdown there. Crypto Lifer, I'm going to stick with you. What are the charts saying about Tezos? We're going to get into their upgrades. We're going to get into, all the recent announcements, but a lot of people just want to know, coin go up or down?
So weird. I'm selling drones in New York City, 54th and I think 3rd Avenue. Guy walks by, he starts telling me about Ethereum. And that's how I got into crypto, really. He showed it to me in the streets in like 2015. I end up hitting him up on Twitter and saying, hey, on Facebook, I'm like, hey, what do I do? What are these coins? And he told me to get into the Tezos ICO. I remember it was kind of big too. And there was a bunch of different people that were all about it. And now I definitely sold Tezos off a long time ago, and I didn't get into the ICO. I had a hard time trying to figure that out, but I did buy it early because I knew so much about it. I thought it was going to be amazing. Like a lot of those things, you get bit by the bug. Well, look at Tezos now. For me, it's lackluster because I followed it for so long and I knew so much about the project, and it just never did what I really truly wanted it to do. Fine, it went from 82 cents to a high of $9. It did its 10x. To me, 10x is what every coin should do. I want 20. I want 50, baby. I want I want EGLD money, $20 to $500, So this, I believe, it'll get back to its all-time high. I think you'll get a nice 9, 10x out of it, and the market keeps going, maybe a 15. Just not my project. It's super low right now. The dailies beat to the ground. You could definitely expect a move. This is nice. I mean, it has a Sammy cup in handy, right? We got a bit of a cup here. So we get to do Sammy cup in handy to the upside, right? There's a cup, there's a handle. We should see that break out. And especially once it gets above the 200 SMA on the daily, you're very likely to see this move. It also has kind of a shoulder, a head and a right shoulder there. And there's also, look, a cup and a handle inside of the right handle. So this is showing me signs of life. It gets above this point of control. You're going up here. And then it's actually going to, I'm seeing a big surge. I mean, the market looks pretty healthy right now. We just got to make sure Bitcoin holds this level and gets back above, stays back above this diagonal support that I have right here. This is just so important. We stay above this, the whole market's going to follow. We're going to get to this $37,000 area. I'm excited. Yeah, Tezos isn't my favorite coin. It might make a move. I know too much about it. I knew when it first came out. It's kind of doesn't really get me going,
All right. They say don't hate it, don't date it, don't marry it, but I think you hate it, Lifer. All right, we're kidding. We're kidding. You don't want to anger the Tezos crowd here. Firoz, I just want to, name off some of their recent upgrades. They're enhancing their scalability with the smart rollups. They're in the self-amending proof of stake. It's their 13th core protocol upgrade. Is the Mumbai upgrade. It's going to be a layer 2 scaling solution here. And now apparently up to 1 million transactions per second. And, increasing that volume there of TPS. And they're known for their on-chain governance involving the community participation and proving and validating, certain protocols, more of a democratic process. People would compare it to, maybe say Ethereum there. Separating community from the topic here. What are your thoughts about Tezos? Do you like the tech? I mean, when you see 1 million transactions per second, is that raising red flags? Because, what is this, node data? Or is this, a bullish scenario here?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like we've got beyond, like back in 2017, right? Every other sort of L1 that was coming out, the battle there was, this is doing this many TPS, that's doing that many TPS. And to be honest, it doesn't really faze me anymore. I don't really care how fast it's doing. And to be honest, it's a number, 51, rank number 51 coin. So look, it's in the top 200. I'm sure it's going to be around in the sort of next bull run to come. But
coming in at number 50 on a coin market cap. So 50 exactly.
So, yeah, exactly. So it doesn't necessarily excite me. Look, it feels like to me that they're still playing on the narrative, because we are seeing at the moment, there's lots of L2s right now coming out, right? We had Arbitrum, we had Optimism. There's more to come as well at the same time. So it feels like they also do need to, maybe jump on that bandwagon to say, look, we were an L1. We need to figure out how to scale up, and we're going to do that by doing roll-ups. So now we've got our own little L2 on the side to speed up the transaction while still using the same security and decentralization of Tezos on the front end. But that's about it. To me, this is all just a bit of noise. Look, I'm not hating on the coin, but up until today, I wasn't really even thinking about Tezos, DZ.
I feel like a lot of people probably woke up, and you know what? If you're a viewer and you were actually thinking about Tezos before this episode, please let us know. Write a comment. Joe, you're smiling. Maybe you were thinking about Tezos. I'm looking at over $8. This was in October of 21, of course, right before Bitcoin pump, right there at the beginning of November. So over $8 right now, $1.11. I'm looking at their market cap. It's just, I say just, it's 1 billion. It's coming in slightly over 1 billion at the moment. Can this reclaim all-time highs? Is this a dead chain walking, or is this more like coral and it's ready to, we've yet to see its evolution?
What is Tezos? What are we talking about? No, I'm just
Okay,
kidding.
Oh, dang.
No, I did
it
not
has
wake up easy
NFTs,
thinking
Joe. It
about
has
Tezos.
NFTs. Come on.
Yeah. No, I did not wake up thinking about that coin. But in all seriousness, it has an infinite supply, so it reminds me a lot of Ethereum in that sense, right? It's like inflationary, I believe. So can it get to an $8 billion market cap? Yeah, why not? It already went up there. And I think that the next bull market could actually really surprise. I'm kind of like indifferent with how high it can go, because we saw in the last bull market, it didn't go as high as we thought it would. People might be trying to smart that and think, oh, it's not even going to get to 100,000, and then watch it just rip to like 200 or something crazy. So to me, if that happens, then yeah, Tezos and a lot of these other altcoins are going to absolutely fly. And we've seen Bitcoin and the Bitcoin dominance lately as high as it's been in like the last year or two. So it's really up there, and that leaves a lot of room for any of these altcoins. The thing that is encouraging about the project is they're continuing to innovate, they're continuing to build. Where they are lacking, unfortunately, is in the marketing, because no one here woke up thinking about Tezos, right? So that's going to be a huge indicator of like, can it really push to all-time highs and beyond? They're going to have to really market, they're going to have to really get out there. And I think that or just do something different. I know one of the questions here was, whatever, about its competitor. And I think they're their own competitor, right? They have to do their own race and run their own thing. But also, like, they have to be head and shoulders above and beyond better than a lot of these chains. And it's a very competitive space. Like, L1s is incredibly competitive. And if you're not innovating and keeping up and doing things, you will get left behind. So I'm kind of indifferent with this one. I could see it going back to $8, but as an investor, you really want to look at risk reward of holding an opportunity cost, right? So if you're going to hold Tezos, right, and you think that it could go to $8, maybe 12 to 15 at the all-time high, compared to another cryptocurrency that you think could get 50 to 100x, like Lifer said, he's getting aggressive over there. That's kind of my corner of the ring. But no, I mean, look, it's all opportunity cost and it's all risk management. So just make sure to do your research. And if you do enough research onto any project and you have conviction, then yeah, maybe I'll look into Tezos a little bit more now that we've talked about it.
All right. And speaking of risk management, you have your back to the windows. I don't want a branch to fly through and hurt you, Joe. That's all I'm wondering here. That's all I'm thinking about. All right. Well, Randy, he brings up a good point. The L1 space is highly competitive. You like some, or at least one. I know you like Wax. We've talked about Wax at length here. It's a competing L1 that honestly, in many ways, is better than Ethereum or Cardano or Solana. But, in many ways, maybe it lacks. What do you see as Tezos? Is Tezos, can it have a second leg? Do you look at it as maybe a dying ecosystem or maybe a growing ecosystem? Do you like Tezos?
I never, really woke up thinking about Tezos, but I actually did talk about it yesterday. Yesterday, I went back to my former high school and taught 2 investing classes about Bitcoin and crypto. And one of the questions was, when I was talking about NFTs, the teacher was asking me, like, what else are NFTs used for besides games and things like that? And I was talking about how Tezos was actually being used at the California DMV. So I think that's already a big deal that they were dealing with the DMV. It shows that at least some sort of government has some faith in it, right? And if something's going to scale, that's what people are looking for. I mean, listen, would it be better news if all these things were being done on Ethereum? I mean, yeah, people would like to hear it, but people also want something that scales. I mean, Ethereum, the gas wars are pretty fierce over there. If Tezos is something that could scale, that could do 1 million transactions plus, then why not use it? I don't think price always equals value. And I think sometimes that gets lost in crypto, where there could be a project that's absolutely amazing and solves a lot of problems, but the price doesn't actually match, maybe in your eyes, the value that it gives. So I think it's a give and take with price. If we're talking about Tezos price, I think it could do stuff in the future. As far as I'm concerned, I haven't been like this extraordinary fan of it. I just knew what it did at the California DMV, and that gave me hope for the future that maybe more people will pick it up and want to use it in those type of ways as well.
All right, yeah, I'm pretty bullish on the California DMV. I think that could definitely lead to a lot of places. It's pretty high ranked as far as global economies, and it is the most populated state in America. So definitely, there is a bullish case scenario for that coin. We're just kind of joking around. We love Tezos, is what I'm trying to say. But I tell you what, I do love L2s on Ethereum. I'm DZ.eth after all. The L2 space is heating up. Of course, Polygon coming in at number one. They have $9.9 billion market cap, but there are some competitors entering the arena. Of course, we're talking about Arbitrum. We're talking about Optimism. Full disclosure, Arbitrum is the last crypto that I purchased. I DCA'd in a little bit this week. We actually asked before the show, I believe everybody here has a little bit of exposure to Arbitrum just to make sure. That being said, Joe, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on the Ethereum L2 space? Polygon crushing it with biz development strategy, but there's a lot of up and comers. Are the potentiality of gains keeping people from actively, trading Polygon? Is everyone looking for that next Polygon, and is that going to ultimately kill Polygon?
No, I don't think it's going to kill Polygon, but it will diversify people's allocations, right? We're all talking about Arbitrum. We're all investing in Arbitrum. So, full disclosure right there is, well, we're not investing more into Polygon. Now, I got in early to Polygon and did very well with that and have just been holding a huge bag of it. But I would say this, the success of the layer twos really has to come because of the success of the layer one, which is Ethereum. If you look at how deflationary Ethereum has been since the merge, it is mind-blowing to me. Like, we're not even in like a full-fledged bull market right now, and it is minus 70,000 Ethereum since the merge. I think it's like 72,000. It will fluctuate, but that's crazy to me, right? It shows that there's a real need for these layer two solutions, right? There's a lot more happening with Ethereum. People are still annoyed with the gas fees. Even now, they're still a couple bucks, 10, 20 bucks, but the gas fees are starting to increase because we're starting to see more money come back into the market. We're starting to see the prices, come back in. And, people trust Ethereum. And because of that, we will need a lot more scaling and onboarding. And I do think all of these different L2s have their own little kind of thing that they can help with in this massive ecosystem, which is Ethereum. And they have their own marketing and way that they go about doing this. The Arbitrum airdrop, right, was very smart marketing, right? It's a great way for people to, get their hands on a little bit of these coins, try some things, play around in that ecosystem. And right now, compared to all the other L2s, it is growing leaps and bounds and has like the most transactions and like a lot more stuff going on there. It's also the newest, so people are excited about it, of course. But from that perspective, there's a real need here. And also, it's really helpful. Okay. No one wants to, when they're, doing these cryptocurrency NFT trades or transactions or sending money from one place to another, no one wants a $2 or $3, $5 transaction fee. That's really obnoxious, right? Like, even to somebody who has, full disclosure, lots of Ethereum, it's annoying to pay that fee, man. I hate doing it. Every time I swap in and out or just send one wallet to another, it's annoying. So having these layer twos can be really helpful. I'm excited to see them all develop together, and it's going to be really interesting to see what future competition comes in. But yeah, I'm excited for everything.
Yeah, I can. I definitely know what you're saying with the extra Ethereum wallets. You're like, all right, I got my $50 in ETH here. Then 2 weeks later, it's $6, and you can't even make a trade. And you're like, yeah, it's just slightly annoying. Like, guess I got to drain another $50 of ETH from my little bag of $75 worth. All right, well, Crypto Lifer, I want to ask you, about the charts and the prices. Why have L2s been performing so strongly over the past couple months? Is it pure speculation? People just kind of wanting to get on the next Polygon? Is it just total value locked? Or people just, maybe putting a lot of money into DeFi? What is driving this change, in your opinion?
I mean, I like to speak from experience. I first got into Uniswap, and I did get the Uniswap airdrop. So, I consider myself a Uniswap OG for doing that. I dove in. Lost a couple grand just buying some garbage, but thank God, just because you jump in. And that's why I always tell people, you get rewarded, man. Fortune favors the brave. Like, yeah, I jumped in. I bought the YFFI coin instead of YFR. You know what I mean? I saw that coin going to 8,000 and I was like, what is this coin that's going to be more than Bitcoin? Like, I was freaking out. But I got the airdrop. And then I got into Uniswap heavy, and I didn't like the fees, and I didn't like the movement. And I got into Binance, Smart Chain. I got into Cake, the whole story, yada yada. I've told it 100 times. But the point of it is, I know the FOMO for a layer 2. I know the FOMO for less fees. I know the bogged down feeling. And then they're going to say EIJ 1559. I really deep dived it for literally 3 hours. And when I got to the end of it, it just said the people with more money are going to be able to pay the transactions again. Like, I didn't see how it was really going to create, I own like 15 ETH, not that many. ETH kind of scares me a little bit. You know what I mean? So I think people like me have that information, and they're front running the idea that, yes, these are going to be where people want to go. And it's simple. These are ecosystems. When you go into these systems, you get paid more. You want to start farming and, going into a pool and, earning and lending and all this other stuff, and you're going to pay less fees. So people already know that. So even if I don't want to get into DeFi, because I've watched the progression of DeFi and how it escalates, I want to get into the coins that I know people are going to want to use and transact. And if they make money without paying a lot of fees, they're going to be excited. They're going to be happy. This is what they want. So I'm speculating. Of course you want to buy some optimism. Of course you want to hold on to some of these layer 2s, Arbitrum. I threw a grand into Arbitrum, not a lot, around $1.29. I'll see where it goes. I mean, it's got to go up. If Bitcoin moves, I'd rather lose 1,000 and then build then not build somewhat of a position in Arbitrum and see where it goes. So I just think people understand the concepts that I just laid out there, and then people want to jump on in. And then people that don't know that, they still know it's cheaper to use optimism. They don't have to be deep diving to figure this stuff out. So you got the speculators like me who know. You got the traders who see the chart. Chart looks pretty good if you want to see optimism just for a split second. I mean, came down to the 618 Fibonacci. That's beautiful. It's exactly what you want. Everything's in the shoulder, head, and shoulder. I'm seeing these inverted head and shoulders all over the market. That's a symmetrical triangle, 50-50, but you're above the 200 SMA on the 22. It's giving you some, every time you start breaking above the yellow line, that I use it as a yellow line, the 200 SMA, it's telling you that you're starting to build some momentum. So I see this could easily get up to $5 in the next couple months. As long as we kind of Bitcoin goes up or down, stays somewhat sideways, we could see some more speculation in these coins. And that's kind of why I'm speculating. Some things I don't even believe in certain coins and projects, but I know everyone else will. So I'm more of like a speculative investor almost. And that's played out very well for me because I don't marry it. I'm ready to dump it. And they're all still in love with it. And I go right off into the sunset,
Yeah. You look at the TVL, definitely people are using DeFi, but in my circles, it seems like maybe you agree. I think a lot of people are just speculating on ARB. They just want a bag or maybe optimism, not so much being degens, but the degen activities will come. Well, Firoz, I want to ask you which you're more degen for. I want to throw in a fourth one, though. We brought up Matic, we brought up Arbitrum, brought up Optimism. Also want to bring up Immutable X, IMX. They just did a pretty big partnership with Polygon. Of those four, take away tokenomics and, pumpamentals, fundamentally, which ones do you like the most when it comes to just the fundamentals of the blockchain?
It's Polygon. It's Polygon. I think for me, that's without a doubt. It's more of the fact that it's the OG, I would say, out of all these sort of layer 2 solutions that we've seen. The other ones obviously have various niches that they're playing into. Immutable X is kind of more, I'd say, around gaming and NFTs as far as I can see. But one thing that shouts out the loudest across all of them, and maybe their time hasn't come yet. Maybe that it needs to happen. But with Polygon, and we've said it before in the past, right? They have lots of real world use cases. They have lots of real world partnerships. There's lots of, real organizations actually using those blockchains for real world use cases. And you're not there yet with the other ones. So for me, if I was to look at pure fundamentals, Polygon is the one for me. But again, Sam, Joe, Randy, everyone's touched on it. One of the other things here is that we're also all looking for the next L2 that's coming out. And there's quite a few, right? We've got, I think there's Shardium that's coming up around the corner. There's Layer 0 coming up around the corner. And everyone is just ready, having a little go on their testnets, hoping they get a bit of that airdrop. And then exactly all it really is, it's a game of hot potato, right? Because all we're doing is taking TVL from one Layer 2, then moving into the next one, then into the next one until we finally run out of these Layer 2s. And then hopefully by that time, we're in 2024. And we've all hopefully picked up a little bag of all of that along the way. And then a year down the line, you sell that bag and you be happy. You wait for that 70% drop and restart the whole process again.
Well, I'm getting word you just revealed A16Z's entire crypto investment portfolio strategy there. So hopefully, okay. Oh wait, no, that was a coincidence. All right, moving on. Final question here, Randy. Of all the L2s, what is your favorite? What do you like using the most, and why?
I think Polygon's good. It's the kind of the OG. Their business development is insane. I've kind of been watching Polygon since the start and Matic before it was Polygon. And I've just seen the ecosystem really explode in terms of business development. I mean, Ryan Wyatt, he was head of gaming at YouTube, and then he left gaming at YouTube to go be kind of the lead at Polygon and took off with it and really knows what he's doing in terms of who to connect to, what people want to see, what people want to do. They're interacting with all things with Polygon. You know, you see them doing gaming stuff, you see them at events, you also see them interacting with different countries doing bonds, tokenized bonds. So people are cutting out the banks using Polygon's technology. I think that's something that's going to be very useful in the future. I also really like that they partner up with Immutable, because I think Immutable is also very important, being that a lot of people are going to be gamers. There's gamers at every level, whether you're doing crossword puzzles or playing solitaire, a Fortnite person, whatever type of gamer you are, you know, that's what the blockchain is going to have for you. And of course, Immutable and Polygon kind of partnering up shows you that people are not just so tribal as we kind of see, like maxis only stick to this chain or this L2 or this kind of niche in the ecosystem. We're seeing people come together and knowing that they need to work together. We need to have interoperability in order for crypto to really go mainstream. We need to all work together. So I really do like Immutable. I've been liking Polygon just for the gaming, bonds, all they're doing with global governments. And I'm sure the other ones are going to catch up. Like we've been talking about Arbitrum. There's a lot of people using it. A lot of people are excited about it, but it's really new. You have to give it time. Polygon's had a little bit of time under its belt. Still a lot of things can change in the future as well. And I'm really excited to see that happen.
All right, we're going to end with a little around the blockchain here. I just want to show this is the L2s. We'll just, kind of maybe focus on the top 5 here. Polygon, Arbitrum, Immutable, Optimism, Loop rings on here. Arbitrum up 13% just on the 24-hour. I'm going to start with you, Joe. You have $100. You got to pour it into an L2. You can't touch it for 2 years. What L2 do you choose?
Well, the safest one would probably be Polygon, in my opinion. So, I'm a little bit biased there since I got in early to Polygon. I'll say Polygon.
All right, Polygon, you just totally ruined your whole DCA, price entry there. Crypto Lifer, which one do you choose? And you can't touch it for 2 years.
No brainer. I got bags of Matic already. Optimism all day. Only a $700 million market cap. Can easily 10x to $7 billion. Let's go, baby.
All right, Optimism, yeah, and just to pull this up, of those top 4, it is coming in below Immutable, coming in below Arbitrum. Yes, $700 million market cap compared to 968 and 1.7. Firoz, $100, can't touch it 2 years. What are you putting it in?
I'm with Lifer. It's Optimism. It's the one that's going to give me the most X's.
All right, I'm about to go buy a bag after this episode. And Randy, we're going to end with you here. $100, not touching it for 2 years. You can't say wax. Where are you putting your $100?
I would say Polygon, but the risky side of me also wants to say Immutable, just because gaming is going to be a huge part of this ecosystem. I think gaming is going to be the catalyst for the next wave of mainstream adoption. Not that there's really good games out right now, but I think there's going to be more. And I think Immutable is going to kind of open the door, since they've been working, I believe, with GameStop, and that's really important. So I would, be a little zesty, say Immutable. It's kind of something nobody's thinking about right now.
All right, and I'm just going to go by market cap. I, too, am going to go into Optimism. I might have to try to get some tomorrow, Friday, DCA. And if you want to help us out, DCA into the like button. It doesn't cost you anything. And make sure you go check out everyone's links are going to be in the description. Check out their channels. But it looks like we're out of time. And Joe narrowly won it. So, Joe, we made it through the episode. Your windows didn't blow out. I don't see a tree falling down. The hurricane hasn't formed. FTX logo hasn't flown by on some umbrella. Feel free, lead us with some parting thoughts.
Well, thanks, DZ, and everyone again for having me on the show. Make sure to follow everybody around. Lifer, Firoz, Randi, they are the real winners. But the real winner is DZ and the Bit Squad. Be sure to keep following. And just thank you again. Honestly, yeah, we had a little bit of internet issues, but I think it was fine here, and we made it work. So thanks again. Looking forward to being back. And keep studying, keep educating yourself, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Hit that like button. Do it now.